Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review, part 2. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups, and I'm here with the weekly comic book review, or at least the second half of it. We already did the first half, but Diamond had delayed our shipment a day, and we finally got him. I finally read him, and let's get to it. We always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week is Ice Cream Man Presents Quarantine Comics Special. This is an extra-sized special issue of Ice Cream Man with a bunch of short stories, most of them, in fact the first half, done by W. Maxwell Prince, Martin Morazzo, the typical Ice Cream Man crew, but then in the last half of this book, you have some guest spots, some guest writers, some guest artists doing their own stories set kind of in the world of Ice Cream Man, and it is absolutely fantastic. Some of those guests include Al Ewing, Dennis Camp, Christopher Cantwell, and Declan Shalvey. I loved this issue. If you like Ice Cream Man, you're really going to get into this one. It's basically like 8 or 10 short little issues of Ice Cream Man. They all hit that bittersweet, melancholy, subtle yet weird and creepy type vibe that Ice Cream Man usually gives you, and I absolutely love it. This stuff was made originally back during the early days of the Diamond shutdown, when there weren't any comic books. They started doing these Ice Cream Man little short one-shots. They released them online at quarantinecomics.com or something like that. He brought in some of his friends, Dennis Camp, Al Ewing, and others, and they filled out the rest, right? So they have now collected it all together into one floppy comic book, and it is exceptionally awesome. If you're an Ice Cream Man fan, you do not want to miss this one. There were many stories in here that I really like. Some of them actually touch on the whole idea of the quarantine and what that felt like, and I really like that. It kind of took me back. It feels like it was years ago. It was just months ago, right? But the feeling of hopelessness and helplessness and despair, intermixed with some really quirky, offbeat, humorous type stuff. There's a great Adam and Eve story in here that had me kind of rolling around on the floor laughing. I thought it was pretty freaking awesome. But all in all, I love it. Everything that Ice Cream Man brings, which is always an innovative approach and a unique approach. It captures a spectrum of atmospheres and moods and tones and anomalies. It does it all in one shot. This is a perfect primer if you've never gotten into Ice Cream Man, and even though we always tell you, you can jump in at any single issue. If you want to understand the tone and weird and absurd atmosphere that an issue of Ice Cream Man provides, you can check out this one-shot special. I loved it. Thought it was super cool. Pick of the week. There you go. It is extra size, so it is $5.99, but there's a lot of comic book in there for $5.99. Let's jump over to Marvel. We've got Web of Venom Wraith. Number 1 is one-shot comic book dealing with Wraith, who was first introduced in Annihilation Conquest. He's most recently appeared in Donny Cates' Guardians of the Galaxy run. So what this issue does is kind of tie Wraith into the whole Null thing. And it actually, at the end, has a revelation that definitely is going to blossom in future issues of Venom and the King in Black. So, Venom fans, this is a must-read. You don't want to miss this one. And if you're a fan of the character of Wraith, they do some interesting, new, weird things here. So they're kind of retweaking some things here and there. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty solid issue. I love the artwork by Villanova. Thought that was really cool. It's got a nice grit to it that I thought really helped accentuate the flow of the story. But Donny Cates is, writing this. Some of the Web of Venom one-shots are okay, but the ones usually that he writes are pretty essential, and it's just like when we were leading up into Absolute Carnage and they started becoming more essential. Is this super essential? I wouldn't necessarily say maybe that, but I think if you're following Venom, you're not going to want to miss this one for sure, because by the end of it, it does reveal something that is definitely going to be a factor in the King in Black. 100%. It's got great artwork, it's got a great cover, it's Donny Cates, it's Venom, it's Wraith, it's all tied in, connecting the cosmic stuff with the Venom stuff, but not in a super crazy type way, but it's there and it's interesting and I liked it. Thought it was a really, really solid issue. Also from Marvel, we have The Rise of Ultraman issue number 1. Marvel now has the rights to do comic books in America based on Ultraman, the Japanese television hero. It's been going on forever, many fans out there. Now, as much as I am a fan of Super Sentai, and to a lesser extent Kamen Rider and Space Sheriff Gavin, I've never really gotten into Ultraman. So I went into this completely stone cold free of any kind of preconceived notion of who Ultraman is or what the story's supposed to be. All I know is he's a superhero that fights kaiju. That's all I really know about him. And I know what the costume looks like. This seems to be a modernized retelling or a modernized continuation of the story. I'm a bit unclear about that because it has some stuff. There is a history here, but it seems like they're introducing a new character, a new Ultraman or something like that. I have no idea. It's written by Kyle Higgins and something Groom. And we're going to find that here in just a second. Man, why don't you put the credits in the front of the book, please? It makes it really difficult when we're trying to find, because I bet it's going to be like right in the middle of the book. And here I am wasting time. Just, yeah, there it is. Matt Groom. Francisco Mana on the artwork. I like the artwork. It's pretty cool. Typical Marvel superhero type fare. But it did kind of give me a little bit of that tinge of Japanese superhero television, which I thought was definitely deserved. You got a Michael Cho story in here that's really cool, and you got these little like comic strippy type things with Giri Hairu doing the artwork that are really funny and quirky. But overall, I liked it. I think if you're a hardcore Ultraman fan, I would like to know what you thought about this. Is this a continuation of the story? Is this a retelling of the story, but in a modern setting? It seems to me like maybe it's a continuation. That being said, I really did like it. As a first issue, though, it doesn't really give us Ultraman yet, and that's one thing that kind of bothered me about it. It's got extra pages, it's got extra stories in the back, and it felt like we just barely got the story started before the main story wrapped up. And so that was the only problem I really had with it, but it's a 5-issue series, and I'm down to check it out. Kyle Higgins is doing a pretty solid job in recent years on the books that he's been working on, so this seems right up his alley, and I'm excited to check it out. Empyre Fallout, Fantastic Four, Empyre Fantastic Four Fallout, however you want to call it. So we got 2 of these one-shots this week. There's an Avengers one, too, we'll get to in a minute. And they are basically epilogues for Empyre. That's right, it's not quite done yet. But I'll tell you what, these epilogue issues were way better than some of the issues of the main series, in my opinion. This one's pretty cool. This one is more of a wrap-up of Empyre than the Avengers one. The Avengers one's dealing mostly with Hulkling. What this one's doing is it wraps up a bunch of stuff. Like, it literally picks up at the end of Empyre. Like, they got Koi, they're arresting him or whatever. Like, everybody's still there, all the heroes. What this does is it answers the question, what's going on with these 2 kids? The Kree and the Skrull children, where are they going to go? You can kind of figure it out, but it's a nice little thing, and it is going to impact future issues of Fantastic Four for sure. But there's an ending to this book that I really liked. Let's just say a returning Robbie favorite character that really got me excited. And to me, the best thing to come out of Empyre was the very end of this book. We also got the Alex Ross Timeless variant. This is the first of a whole slew of Alex Ross Timeless variants. If you want these from your shop, you better let them know right now. So we have Avengers Empyre Aftermath. So this one doesn't deal so dramatically with the ramifications of Empyre as in like the immediate effects, like how they sort everything out, but it does deal with stuff mostly involving Hulkling and Wiccan, of course. You know, we found out in Empyre that they wound up getting married before Hulkling took the throne of the Kree and the Skrull, united the empires. So in this one, you kind of get the reception. That's mostly what it is. It's also dealing a little bit more with the backstory of Hulkling's history, his familial history, and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I thought it was pretty decent. And it sets up some really cool, interesting stuff with some Marvel characters that's going to lead into something in the future. What exactly? I don't know. But I did think that this was a pretty solid issue. And I like the celebration on Hulkling and Wiccan's marriage. And I like to finally get that moment, because when they just kind of like, oh yeah, we got married, and it was just like one-page reveal, it kind of just came out of nowhere. This one, it actually gives it the space that it deserves, but it also places it in Marvel history, and I really liked it. So Empyre, Avengers Aftermath, I thought those Aftermath issues were way better than some of the issues of Empyre. Captain Marvel number 21, still one of the last dangling tie-ins left. This one's still taking place towards the end of the Empyre story, so you definitely want to read this one, I would say, first before you check out some of these one-shots right here, because you might have a little bit of a spoilage. This has a spoil cover too. Anyway, Captain Marvel's been pretty decent. I was almost about to be done with it, and I definitely didn't think that the Empyre issues would compel me to keep on this book any longer, even though I am a fan of Kelly Thompson. But the new character that's been introduced, was it L'Oreal? Like, I really like her. It's Carol's sister, Kree's sister. Really cool and interesting events and things start happening with her, and really cool setup for what's to come in Captain Marvel. But I'm actually, it's crazy, but the Empyre tie-ins of Captain Marvel have kind of brought me back into the book, a little bit more excited to see where the story's going to go, and I really like the character of L'Oreal. I thought she was absolutely amazing. Marauders number 12 is here. We're kicking off the next phase 100%. Kitty Pryde is back. She's got new knuckle tattoos, and she's got a new revenge mission against Sebastian Shaw. So this is just kind of celebrating Kate's return, dealing with that, and of course her feelings about what exactly has happened between her and Shaw. And I like this setup. I like this issue a lot. Didn't really like the art. Who did the art? Matteo Loli. And it just wasn't quite working for me. Felt a little quirky, a little weird. But overall, I thought it was pretty cool. Marauders is still one of my favorite X-Men books. Right now, knowing how long it took for Kate to come back, they kind of let that dangle out there maybe just a bit too long. But now I'm really excited to see what's going to happen, because Shaw is about to get it. I mean, look at them knuck tats. Great stuff. X-Force number 12 is here, leading into 10 of Swords. In this one, we have the return of Mikhail Rasputin. That's right, Colossus's brother. We got Beast doing some shady stuff, kind of detaining Russian mutants, trying to make it obvious, trying to show out to all these governments and all these people that are maybe coming against the X-Men or making plans against them. So I'm really liking X-Force, and I'm liking it still. A bunch of stuff that's happened over the last few issues that's starting to come to fruition right here, and you're starting to see, oh, I get it. Plus you got the Cerebro sword, and so this definitely starts leading into some Ten of Swords stuff. I think a next big game-changing moment with the X-Men, we're really just like 2 weeks away from that. X-Force, pretty solid issue. X-Factor number 3, nah, it's okay. It's alright. It's a Mojoverse story again, and even though the last issue kind of won me over just a little bit, this one felt a little bit more of a chore to get through. It's interesting. Shatterstar makes an appearance, and that's kind of funny, the way they use them. But this X-Factor series, I don't know. So they're X-Factor investigations. They investigate the deaths of mutants to make sure that they're actually dead before they enter them into resurrection protocols. That makes total sense. But, I don't know, the story just kind of gets bogged down. It gets a little excessively verbose at times, and it just kind of gets weighted down by its own mispace. Does that make sense? I don't know. X-Factor number 3, though, I would say that I'm not going to keep reading it for much longer, but we're about to do this whole giant crossover, so I'm just going to keep at it. The Amazing Spider-Man number 48 is here. This is the issue right before the big 850, the return of the Green Goblin and all that stuff. Yo, this Sins Rising story has been pretty good, and this was a great issue. I liked it. I've been liking Spider-Man all of a sudden. It's like they got to a story, as long as they don't let this dangle out for too long. But in this one, you got Sin Eater, and you got he's convinced all these people to kind of join up with him, and now they're going after Norman. And so Peter is having to deal with the struggle inside of, do I save Norman or do I let him go? Because he's not necessarily going to kill Norman, but he's going to take away all of his sins. He's going to take away all the evil inside of him. Maybe that's the thing he should do. And then you got Miles Morales telling him, like, yo, maybe that's what you should do. And then it kind of goes out from there, and it sets up what's going to be pretty big issue with 850. I'm excited for it. I'm really liking the Sins Rising story. Like I said, I have not really been digging Spencer's Spider-Man, but all of a sudden, I'm liking it. I am. And Bagley on the artwork and all that kind of stuff. It's a nice throwback, and I'm just glad to be enjoying a Spider-Man comic book, to be honest with you. Speaking of Spider-Man, Miles Morales' Spider-Man 18 came out last week. We were shorted. Finally got my copy. Read it. Really cool stuff. Setting up some really interesting stuff that's tied into some really great issues that Ahmed had done before. Really like it. He's really coming into his own as the writer of Miles. The dialogue's getting quicker. The pace is getting amped up. The action scenes are really impressive. The art in this book was pretty cool by Carnero, but I liked it. Thought it was really, really cool. I know a lot of y'all already read this last week, so it's old news to you, but Miles Morales Spider-Man number 18, I'm digging it. It's slightly tied in with the whole outlawed type thing. Let's jump over to Boom Studios. Something is Killing the Children, issue number 10. Yes, something's killing the children, all right. Holy cow. So I thought that things got ramped up in the last issue, and they really get ramped up here in issue number 10. Crazy stuff happens. Bold stuff happens. In your face, gut punchy type stuff happens. And it really brings me back to the early days of this series when it had that punch, that visceral punch that it was giving us. Then it kind of slowed up a little bit to explain some backstory about the House of Slaughter and all that jazz, and now it's really ramped up, and the scale and scope of this has just increased, and I'm really digging it. The artwork is great, the dialogue is great, the coloring is magnificent, it's got great atmosphere, it's creepy, it's engaging, it's compelling. Something is Killing the Children is one of the best comics on shelves. This issue proves it. Wow! And what an ending. Thought it was freaking awesome. The Red Mother is here with issue number 8. This was a great issue. I thought, a lot of people say, book is a slow burn. The book is a slow burn. But if you really think about it, in 8 issues, a lot has happened. And they're able to deal, Jeremy Hahn, the writer, and Danny Luckert with the art, they're able to deal with some actual real deep things in the midst of just telling a story. So in 8 issues, honestly, when you get to the end of this, I think a lot has happened in 8 issues, and a lot of exploration of the character and what's going on, and building up this mystery, building up this creep factor, and then just having moments of explosiveness that happens like in here. I love it. Great, crisp, clean artwork that has room to breathe. The dialogue is so amazingly perfect, and it's not too much that pulls back when it needs to let the art handle the emotional weight of certain scenes. Really liking it. She's still trying to get her life back after the trauma she's experienced in the first arc, and it's not going quite well for her. But some things are, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and the way that it's made is so expertly crafted. This just remains one of my favorite books. Boom is killing it, and The Red Mother and Something is Killing the Children are reasons why those are definitely top 5 books for the week. Let's jump over to Dark Horse. Bill and Ted Are Doomed, #1. Yes! So this is a new Bill and Ted comic book series written by Evan Dorkin. That's cool because Evan Dorkin did the original Marvel series back in the day, you know, Bogus Journey and all that stuff. And so I was really, really cool to have him come back. You've got Roger Langridge on the artwork and the lettering, and he's doing a great job of not completely mimicking that Dorkin style, but doing something similar, yet still unique and on its own enough. You got Ed Solomon, the co-creator of Bill and Ted, as the consultant helping him out. What this is this is a bridge between Bogus Journey and Face the Music. If you want to know exactly what happened, this book's going to tell you. It introduces you to Little Billy and Little Thea. It introduces you to the problems that they're having, trying to write the song that's going to unite the world, the problems that are involving death. There's some moments in here with Station, that really have some of the most emotionally resonating beats of the entire week. Bill and Ted Are Doomed was amazing. If you're a Bill and Ted fan like I am, this book is awesome. It is most non-heinous. This book was fantastic. I loved it. It was excellent. It was bogus in no way whatsoever. Bill and Ted Are Doomed. If you love the new movie, you want a little bit more backstory into that in a very fun, comical, comic booky type way as only Evan Dorkin can deliver, check it out. Bill and Ted Are Doomed, #1. And yeah, that was my pick for Thunderdome this week. Didn't seem to be that popular, but I gotta go with my heart and my instinct when I'm saying Bill and Ted. Come on, I love it. Cyberpunk 2077, #1 is here. I think this is based on an upcoming video game or something. I don't know. It's written by Cullen Bunn. It's got artwork by Miguel Valderrama. Really like the artwork in here. Story was pretty decent too. I'm a bit lost, but by the end of it, I kind of picked it up. It's like it's a cyberpunk futuristic world, and it's about this woman who's like part of like a trauma team or something. She's like a paramedic almost, but there's like, the cities are like these crazy war zones or something like that, and she's kind of dealing with some, you know, she was involved in something where she was the sole survivor or something like that, so she's got that kind of guilt, and all that stuff's weighing on her. It's a really well-paced book, and the artwork was really cool. Like, I really like the artwork in this book. There you go. There's a little bit of the artwork. Like the artwork. I like the script. I thought it was pretty decent. I wasn't going to read it, but some people in the PCP Army said, please read it. Let us know what you think about it. I dug it. I really did. I usually completely stay away from books that are based on video games because they just don't usually do anything for me. But this was actually pretty cool. I like the artwork. The artwork really sold me on it. The story was a bit incomprehensible at first, but then it started clearing itself out. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I was just focused too much on the art, but I did like it. I thought it was pretty solid. It's not going to make me want to play a video game or nothing, you know, unless the only video games I like are like pre-2000. That's a joke, but kind of true. Anyway, Cyberpunk 2077 is out. Stealth, #5 from Image Comics is here. Really liked this issue. Thought it was great. I really think that Nate Belgarde did such an amazing job on the artwork in this issue, and Costa's script's getting better. He's able to hit those emotional bits and balance it with the action, especially with Belgarde's artwork, Bonvillain's coloring. I loved the artwork in here. You get a little backstory on the villain. What is it? The Dead Hand or something like that. I love the artwork. I love the story. I love where we're building up to, and it's just ramped up like crazy. I think there's only one issue left. Maybe it's going to continue on a little bit after that, but as far as I know, this is the second to last issue. But I'm digging it, and I know a lot of people are. It's really great independent superhero stuff, and it's working. But that artwork to me is so sleek and cool and stylish. Holy cow. Now that Belgarde's back, can we please just have Nowhere Men come back? Anybody remember that? That was a comic book that existed. Vampire the Masquerade, issue number 2 is here from Vault Comics. Written by Tim Seeley and Teeny Howard and a bunch of artists and all that stuff. So, like I said in the first issue, I have never played Vampire the Masquerade. I don't know anything about the lore. I was kind of impressed with the first issue. It got me very interested in what's going on. This one didn't quite win me over as much as issue number 1, but it didn't turn me away. I still liked the story. The second story didn't do as much for me as the first. The first story by Seeley, that's the Winter's Teeth story. It's got some interesting bits, and maybe I should research more of the world of Vampire the Masquerade to know more of the lore, so I don't have to try so hard to try to piece all together what exactly they're talking about. But it seems like vampires, some of them have different powers, different things that they feed on, different. And it's kind of interesting. Kind of reminds me of Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter just a little bit, so that's cool. Definitely set in Minneapolis and St. Paul, so that's an interesting. You don't see too many stories kind of set in that, and the town being such a prominent fixture and character. But I did like it. I really liking the artwork in the first story. Thought it was cool. Doing some interesting stuff. You got this person who's just been turned. She's trying to fight. You know, you see this in all vampire fiction, trying to fight the urge to feed, but eventually you have to cave in. But I think it's pretty well done and pretty decent, and I think it's strong enough that vampire fans, vampire fiction fans will like it, and not just Vampire the Masquerade fans. However, if you do like Vampire the Masquerade, at the end, they give you like character sheets and other things like that, so to help flesh out that world or do more with it, I don't know. Whatever you do in RPGs. Sweetheart number 5 is here. This is the final issue of the series. I covered it when it first came out digitally. I have loved this book, but I thought that the ending was pretty weak. So issue 5 to me is the weakest point of the series, and it took something that was really cool and then just kind of rushed through a quick ending that never really quite grabbed me. So, but issue number 5 is here, and some good horror from Action Lab. So that's what I read for the second half. I did not get a chance to read Mars Attacks Red Sonja number 2. Hopefully I'll get to read that tomorrow. That accidentally got left at the shop, but I will definitely read it before we do the top 10 video. And the top 10 video will be out Friday morning instead of Thursday morning because of the delay and the need to do 2 of these videos. But there you go. That's what I read. That's what I thought about it. What are you reading? What are you picking up? What are you thinking about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. You get notifications when we go live or when we put out a new video, things like that. You want to be involved. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading, everybody.